There's a chill in the air, and that's not fall. It's the beginning of spooky season for the markets. So let's talk about it on the weekly update. Okay, friends, let's talk about the market spooky season begins. Here's what you need to know. With the market at all-time highs, we prepare for a seasonally weak time in markets. So first up, let's take a look at the market, same way we've always been looking at it. Red is the S&P 500, orange is the 50-day moving average, purple is the 200, and what do you notice? Well, our uptrend continues, but we continue to see, basically since about July, we continue to see this digestive action coming in the market. So we might have releases lower, then we kind of battle up, then we have a release lower, then we battle higher, then a release lower, and then we get back to where we were. And it looks like there's a push-pull happening in the market that just really wasn't present from about May to where we are now. Clearly, the market's character has changed, and the question is, why is that happening? Well, one of the reasons why I think that is happening is because of index seasonality. And what this does, this is the last 20 years of history in the market, and all we're doing is we're plotting the average movement of the market by month. And so this gives you a sense of, hey, are there good and bad times to be invested? And what you'll see here is from the start of about late July to about the end of October, this is the flattest segment, the longest and flattest and most volatile period for the S&P 500 seasonally. Now, we've talked about seasonality before, and we've said that, it's not a perfect science. If people just show up and want to buy stocks, they're going to blow right through this. But it is one of those factors, it's good to kind of take a look at this and say, I wonder why that's happening. And there's a lot of reasons why. Things like the end of the fiscal year for the US government, things like corporate tax payments come in September. There's a lot of stuff that shows up around this time of year that sort of gives us this weak period. Once we get through it, though, and one of the reasons why you don't want to abandon stocks from late July to late October, once you get through it, as you get into November and December, this is the strongest period of the market for the year. And this is usually, hey, we've got, purchasing budgets that haven't been, completely exhausted. So let's, push those out before the holiday time. So we're just in a seasonally spooky time of year. And as I look at reasons why maybe this seasonal weakness might show up, I think there's a couple narratives out there. Let's take them one at a time. First up, let's talk about unemployment. Unemployment rate is now 4.3%, the highest since 2021. And one of the things, this has been, on Trump's radar for quite some time. He's been saying, hey, the last 6 months of employment data hasn't really been that good. First of all, the data was too high initially, and it's been adjusted lower. But things like, highest unemployment rate since 2021, that's COVID. Things like June was the first month, now it's been revised to a net negative in jobs. That's the first job contraction since COVID. So there's clearly a lot of weakness that's showing up in the data. I think unemployment, if we get a spooky season, if we get some upset in the market, I think the economy weakening, particularly through employment, is going to be one of those factors. Second, let's talk about manufacturing. This is from the ISM. U.S. manufacturing contracted for the 6th straight month in August as factories dealt with the fallout from the import tariffs. Some manufacturers describing the current business environment as, quote, much worse than the Great Recession. I think one of those other spooky factors that's coming in, it's not only the jobs, not only the unemployment rate, but if you look at business, we're seeing it. We saw PPI last week. Inflation was coming in hot through tariffs. Now the manufacturers are telling us there's absolutely no activity. This is 100% attributable to the current tariff policy and the uncertainty it's created. Some viewed the conditions as consistent with stagflation, and I think that's what we're going to get. The manufacturing side of the economy is going to stall. AI is still working, and that's good. That's good for the market. But for everything else in the economy, I think we're going to see a whole lot of cost and not a whole lot of growth. Another one of those spooky narratives that are out there. Finally, I love this picture. I've talked about this picture all week. I think there are certain pictures that sort of mark the beginning or end of an age. And this is a very interesting picture to me. What we have here is Xi Jinping, leader of China, Vladimir Putin, leader of Russia, and Narendra Modi, leader of India. Guys, these three countries represent 3 billion people, 65 trillion in economy, and armies that total around 5 million troops. All three of those numbers are larger than all of NATO combined. this is such an interesting picture to me. This was taken, China had a very large military parade and summit, and Trump has been bemoaning that India has sort of joined Russia and China in this, I guess, what we want to call it, a counter-axis to Western power. So I think, if you look at what's happening with gold, if you look at what's happening with US debt, there's definitely this idea that, hey, the empire is sort of collapsing. I think that adds in, that's a little sprinkle of geopolitical on this spooky mixture that we have. So what does it all mean? Market spooky season begins. Well, fall is beginning to arrive, and with it, a seasonally weak time for markets. There's plenty of things to have anxieties about with the markets at all-time highs. Seasonality, the economy, unemployment, geopolitical developments, all might conspire to create a convincing market ghost story. Now, should a period of market distress arrive, it is not an unusual event. In fact, this is when it's supposed to show up. And so this market distress will pass like all the others, and I'm waiting to see how the market digests some of these cross currents. So it's not here today. We're not seeing, the markets are strong, things are good, but if the market were to weaken as we get through September and into October, I wouldn't be surprised. And the reason why is there's a whole lot of things out there that we can be at least a little afraid of. So there you go. That's a little ghost story for you, a little early Halloween celebration. I'll see you next week for the news review. Enjoy your weekend. Okay, friends, that was the video. Hope you liked it. If you found it informative, good, entertaining, I'd love if you could scroll down here beneath the video and give me a like there. It helps us out with the algorithm. And then if you want to be notified first of anything new that we upload to the channel, if you come over here, click subscribe, you'll be the first to know as soon as we upload anything. Appreciate it. See you soon.